I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind, and I think it's going to hit different for a lot of you watching this. There's this pattern I keep seeing. Some women will work their entire lives, be incredibly smart, incredibly capable, and still struggle financially. Meanwhile, other women seem to have this natural ability to create wealth, to think bigger, to make money work for them instead of the other way around. And here's what I've realized. It's not about education. It's not about intelligence. It's not even about the opportunities you're given. The real difference comes down to one fundamental thing: how you think about money, work, and your role in the economy. See, most women who stay broke think like employees. Even if they run businesses, even if they're entrepreneurs on paper, they're still operating from an employee mindset. They're trading time for money, they're seeking security above all else, and they're waiting for someone else to permit them to succeed. But wealthy women, they think like CEOs. Not because they necessarily run companies, but because they understand something fundamental about how money actually works. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They create systems instead of just working harder. They make decisions based on potential, not just on what feels safe right now. I want to be clear about something. I'm not here to judge anyone's financial situation. We all start somewhere, and there are real systemic issues that affect women's earning potential. But what I am here to talk about is the mental game. Because once you understand the psychological differences between employee thinking and CEO thinking, you can start to shift your own patterns. Today, we're going to break down exactly what these mindset differences look like, why they develop, and most importantly, how you can start rewiring your brain to think more like a CEO, regardless of where you're starting from financially. If this speaks to you, the best way you can support us is by hitting that subscribe button. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with the employee mindset, because honestly, most of us were raised with this way of thinking. And there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just that it has some built-in limitations that keep you stuck financially. I want you to really pay attention here because you might recognize yourself in what I'm about to describe. This isn't about shaming anyone who has a job. This is about understanding why some women stay trapped in a specific way of thinking about money that guarantees they'll never build real wealth. The first thing you need to understand about the employee mindset is that it's all about trading time for money. Think about it. When you're in this headspace, your first question about any opportunity is always, how much does it pay per hour? Or what's the salary? You're literally putting a price tag on your hours. And here's the problem with that. You only have 24 hours in a day. No matter how hard you work, you can't create more time. So your income is always capped by how many hours you can physically work. Women with employee mindsets are constantly doing this mental math. If I make $25 an hour and work 40 hours, that's $1,000 a week. But wealthy women, they're asking completely different questions. They're thinking about how to make money while they sleep, how to create systems that generate income without their constant presence. See the difference? Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The permission-seeking behavior. Women stuck in employee thinking are always looking for someone to give them the green light. They need their boss to approve their ideas. They need validation before they make a move. They're constantly checking if it's okay to want more money or pursue that opportunity. This comes from years of being rewarded for following rules and punished for taking initiative without approval. I see this all the time. Brilliant women who have million-dollar ideas, but they're waiting for someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, yes, you're allowed to do this. Meanwhile, CEO-minded women just go ahead and do it. They give themselves permission. They don't need anyone's approval to start that business, launch that product, or charge those prices. And then there's what I call the security trap. This is huge. Employee-minded women are obsessed with security. The steady paycheck, the health insurance, the predictable schedule. They think this is safety, but it's actually the most dangerous position you can be in. Why? Because you're completely dependent on one source of income that someone else controls. Your boss could decide tomorrow that you're laid off, the company could go under, the economy could shift, and suddenly, your security evaporates. But here's what really kills me. These same women will avoid starting a side business or investing because it feels risky. They'd rather have 100% dependence on something they don't control than have multiple income streams they do control. That's not security. That's voluntary helplessness. The scarcity thinking is another major component. When you have an employee mindset, you see everything as limited. There are only so many promotions, only so much money in the budget for raises, only so many opportunities. So you compete with other women, you hoard information, you play small because you think if someone else wins, you lose. You're operating from this place of there's not enough to go around. This shows up in tiny ways throughout your day. You clip coupons for hours to save $20, but won't invest that time in learning a skill that could make you $200. You'll drive across town to save $3 on gas, but won't spend $30 on a book that could change your financial future. You're so focused on protecting the little you have that you can't see how to create more. And finally, and this is the one that really keeps women stuck, the validation addiction. Employee-minded women need constant external validation to feel worthy. They need performance reviews to tell them they're doing well. They need their paycheck to reflect their value. They need their title to give them identity. Without these external markers, they don't know if they're successful or even if they're enough. This is why so many women stay in soul-crushing jobs. It's not really about the money, it's about the validation. The title that makes them feel important. The boss who occasionally says, "Good job." The structure that tells them where they fit. But wealthy women, they validate themselves. They know their worth isn't determined by what someone else is willing to pay them. Here's what's really happening. When you think like an employee, you're essentially agreeing to let someone else determine your worth, your time's value, and your financial ceiling. You're trading your power for the illusion of security. And the saddest part, most women don't even realize they're doing it. They think this is just how things work. But it's not. It's just one way to think about money and work, and it's the way that keeps you broke. Again, I want to be clear. There's nothing wrong with having a job. There's nothing wrong with wanting security. But if you're thinking like an employee in every area of your financial life, you're going to stay financially dependent on other people's decisions. You're going to stay reactive instead of proactive, and you're going to keep hitting that same income ceiling over and over again. Now let's talk about how wealthy women think. CEO-minded women operate from a completely different mental framework, and it has nothing to do with actually being a CEO. You could be running a one-woman business from your kitchen table and still think like this. It's about how your brain processes opportunities and value. The first major difference is that CEO-minded women focus on value creation, not task completion. While employee-minded women are checking off to-do lists and counting hours, wealthy women are asking, what problem can I solve that people will pay for? They're not thinking about being busy, they're thinking about being effective. They understand that you can work 12 hours a day doing tasks that don't matter, or you can work 2 hours creating something that changes people's lives and pays you for years. Think about this. An employee-minded woman might spend her day responding to 100 emails and feel productive. A CEO-minded woman creates one email sequence that sells her product automatically for the next 5 years. Same amount of time, completely different results. One is trading time, the other is building assets. And this brings us to ownership mentality. This is critical. CEO-minded women take complete ownership of their financial outcomes. They don't blame the economy, their boss, their circumstances, or their ex-husband for their financial situation. They ask themselves, what can I control? What can I create? What can I change? When something goes wrong, they don't look for someone to blame. They look for the lesson and the opportunity. I'll be straight with you. This is uncomfortable. It's so much easier to say, I can't get ahead because my boss doesn't appreciate me, than to say, I haven't created enough value to command higher pay. But wealthy women choose the discomfort of responsibility over the comfort of excuses every single time. They know that if they created their current situation, they can create a different one. Now, strategic thinking. This is where the game really changes. Employee-minded women think in terms of this week's paycheck or this month's bills. CEO-minded women are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. They're thinking 5, 10, 20 years ahead. They'll take less money now if it means building something that pays them forever. They'll invest in learning a skill that won't pay off for 2 years because they understand compound returns. Here's a perfect example. A CEO-minded woman might turn down a $100,000 salary to start a business that makes $30,000 the first year. Employee-minded women think she's crazy, but she knows that in 5 years, that business could be making $500,000 annually and she can sell it for millions. She's not thinking about this month's rent. She's thinking about generational wealth. The abundance mindset is real, and it's not some woo-woo manifestation nonsense. CEO-minded women genuinely believe there's enough money, opportunities, and success for everyone. They collaborate instead of compete. They share information freely because they know that helping others succeed doesn't diminish their own success. They understand that wealth isn't a pie where if you get a bigger slice, I get a smaller one. They know we can just make more pies. This shows up in how they price their services, how they negotiate, how they network. They don't undercharge because they're not afraid of losing clients. They know there are always more clients. They don't accept bad deals because they're not operating from desperation. They can walk away from opportunities that don't serve them because they trust their ability to create better ones. And here's the big one: internal validation and self-trust. CEO-minded women don't need anyone to tell them they're successful. They define their own metrics. They trust their gut. When everyone says their idea won't work, but they know in their bones it will, they do it anyway. They don't need a performance review because they're constantly evaluating themselves against their own standards, which are usually higher than anyone else would set for them. This self-trust extends to money decisions. They don't need to poll their friends before investing in that course or starting that business. They don't need their family's approval to charge those prices. They've developed such a strong internal compass that external opinions become data points, not decision makers. But here's what really separates CEO thinkers. They understand leverage. They're always asking, how can I do this once and benefit multiple times? They create systems, build teams, develop products. They know that true wealth comes from multiplication, not addition. While employee-minded women are trying to add more hours or get a higher hourly rate, CEO-minded women are multiplying their efforts through leverage. They'll spend months creating an online course that can sell infinitely. They'll hire someone to handle tasks that don't require their specific expertise. They'll license their ideas, create affiliate programs, build recurring revenue streams. Every decision is filtered through, how can this work for me when I'm not working? And perhaps most importantly, CEO-minded women see themselves as the asset. They invest in themselves relentlessly. They know that their brain, their skills, their network, and their reputation are their real wealth. The money is just a byproduct. So they read voraciously, they join masterminds, they hire coaches, they attend conferences. Not because someone told them to for career development, but because they understand that every upgrade to their mindset and skill set multiplies their earning potential. This isn't about being ruthless or money-obsessed. It's about understanding that when you think like a CEO, you create value for everyone around you. You solve bigger problems, you employ people, you create products that improve lives. The money follows the value, and CEO-minded women never forget that equation. The employee mindset wasn't something you chose, it was programmed into you, probably before you even knew what money was. And understanding this psychology is the first step to breaking free from it. Think back to what you heard about money growing up. Most women heard things like, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford that, rich people are greedy. Or my personal favorite, just get a good job with benefits. These weren't just casual comments. These were your brain's first lessons about how money works, and they shaped everything that came after. Your parents probably meant well. They were trying to prepare you for the world they knew, a world where a steady job meant security and working hard meant you'd be okay. But here's the thing, that world doesn't exist anymore. The programming they gave you is like trying to run new software on a computer from 1995. It just doesn't work. And then society doubled down on this conditioning, especially for women. Boys were told to be entrepreneurs, to take risks, to build empires. Girls, we were told to be responsible, to play it safe, to find stability. Boys played games about building businesses and conquering worlds. Girls were given toy kitchens and told to practice caretaking. The message was clear. Men create wealth, women manage households. This goes deeper than just toys and talk. Studies show that parents are more likely to talk to their sons about investing and building wealth, while conversations with daughters focus on budgeting and saving. Sons get asked, "What do you want to build?" Daughters get asked, "What job do you want?" See the difference? One assumes creation and ownership. The other assumes employment. The confidence gap is real, and it's costing you money. Women consistently underestimate their abilities while overestimating what it takes to succeed. You think you need another degree, another certification, another year of experience before you can charge those prices or start that business. Meanwhile, men with half your qualifications are out there charging double, and nobody's questioning it. This isn't about male bashing. It's about recognizing that you've been conditioned to doubt yourself in ways that directly impact your bank account. When you don't believe you deserve wealth, you won't create it. When you don't trust your ideas, you won't execute them. When you think you need permission, you won't take action. And then there's risk tolerance. Women are taught that risk equals danger, that the safe path is the smart path. But here's what nobody tells you. Avoiding all risk is the riskiest thing you can do. When you're so afraid of losing that you never try to win, you guarantee you'll stay exactly where you are. CEO-minded women understand that calculated risks are just investments in disguise. The psychology runs even deeper when we examine how women are socialized to be likable above all else. You've been trained to prioritize relationships over resources, to avoid conflict even when it costs you money, to say yes when you mean no because you don't want to disappoint anyone. This people-pleasing programming is incompatible with building wealth. You can't charge what you're worth if you're more worried about being liked than being paid. There's also this weird shame around women wanting money. Men can openly say they want to be rich, and everyone applauds their ambition. A woman says the same thing, and suddenly she's materialistic, selfish, or unfeminine. So you learn to hide your financial ambitions, to downplay your goals, to pretend you're not really interested in wealth, when deep down, financial freedom would change everything. The good news? Psychology that's been learned can be unlearned. Your brain is incredibly plastic. It can create new neural pathways at any age. Those old money stories your parents told you, you can rewrite them. The societal conditioning that says you should play small, you can reject it. The confidence gap, you can close it. But it requires conscious effort. You have to catch yourself when you're operating from old programming. When you hear yourself saying, "I could never charge that much," that's not truth. That's conditioning. When you think, "I need someone to give me permission," that's not reality. That's programming. When you feel guilty for wanting more, that's not your authentic self. That's years of messages telling you to be grateful for whatever scraps you get. Understanding this psychology isn't about blaming your parents or society. It's about recognizing that you've been operating with someone else's software that was designed to create good employees, not wealthy women. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand why you think the way you do, you can start thinking differently. All right, now we're here. The actual shifts you need to make in your thinking. And I want you to know, these aren't just feel-good affirmations. These are concrete changes in how you process decisions, opportunities, and money. Master these, and you'll never think like an employee again. The first shift, and this is huge, is moving from how much does it pay to what value can I create? Stop evaluating opportunities based on the hourly rate or salary. Start asking yourself, what problem does this solve? Who desperately needs this solution? How can I deliver this in a way that transforms their life or business? When you focus on value creation, the money becomes a natural consequence, not the primary goal. Here's how this looks in real life. An employee-minded woman sees a job posting for $60,000 and gets excited about the salary. A CEO-minded woman sees the same posting and thinks, they have a $60,000 problem. What if I could solve it as a consultant for $30,000 in half the time, then replicate that solution for 5 other companies? Same problem, completely different approach. One leads to a job, the other leads to a business. Next shift. From seeking permission to taking calculated risk, you need to become your own authority. Stop asking, am I allowed to do this? And start asking, what's the worst that could happen, and can I handle it? Most of the time, the worst case scenario is that you'll be exactly where you are now. The best case, complete transformation of your financial life. This doesn't mean being reckless. CEO-minded women aren't gambling, they're calculating. They think, if I invest $1,000 in this course and implement even half of what I learn, what's my potential return? They understand that not investing in themselves is the bigger risk. They know that staying still while the world moves forward is actually moving backward. The third shift is moving from competing to collaborating. This one's tough because we've been trained to see other successful women as threats. But here's the truth. Another woman's success doesn't diminish your opportunities. It expands them. When you shift from competition to collaboration, you suddenly have access to knowledge, networks, and opportunities you could never create alone. Start looking at successful women in your field as potential partners, not competitors. Instead of thinking, she's charging $5,000 for that? That's insane. Think, she's proven the market will pay $5,000 for this. What can I learn from her approach? Instead of hiding your ideas for fear someone will steal them, share them freely and watch how they come back to you improved and expanded. Now, the shift from consuming to creating. This is where most women get stuck. You're consuming content, courses, and information, but you're not creating anything with it. CEO-minded women have a different ratio. For every hour they consume, they create for 2. They know that creation is where value lives, where money flows, where impact happens. Stop being just a student and start being a teacher. Stop being just a reader and start being a writer. Stop being just a buyer and start being a seller. Whatever you're learning, find a way to package and share it. You don't need to be the world's expert. You just need to be one step ahead of someone who needs what you know. The fifth shift, from short-term comfort to long-term wealth. This means being willing to be uncomfortable now for freedom later. It means choosing the difficult conversation about raising your prices over the comfortable silence of undercharging. It means investing money you could spend on immediate pleasures into things that will pay you for years. CEO-minded women will live in a smaller apartment to invest in their business. They'll drive an older car to afford a mentor. They'll say no to brunches to say yes to building. They understand that every dollar and every hour is either building their future wealth or maintaining their current limitations. They choose building every time. Here's a practical way to implement this. Before every financial decision, ask yourself, is this a CEO move or an employee move? Buying lunch every day because you didn't plan? Employee move. Meal prepping on Sunday and investing that lunch money into your business? CEO move. Scrolling social media for 2 hours? Employee move. Using those 2 hours to create content that attracts clients? CEO move. And here's the shift that ties them all together. You must start seeing money as a tool, not a goal. Employee-minded women want money so they can feel secure. CEO-minded women want money so they can create more value, solve bigger problems, and have greater impact. They understand that money is just stored energy that allows them to amplify their purpose. When you make this shift, everything changes. You stop hoarding and start investing. You stop fearing loss and start seeing opportunities. You stop playing defense and start playing offense. Money becomes your partner in creating the life and impact you want, not your master that determines what you can and can't do. These shifts don't happen overnight. Your brain will resist. Your old programming will fight back. You'll catch yourself sliding into employee thinking 100 times. That's normal. The difference is, now you'll recognize it. And recognition is the first step to transformation. You know what? Right now, in this moment, you're standing at a crossroads. Because every woman watching this will do one of two things after this video ends. Most will nod along. Maybe save this video to watch again later. Tell themselves they'll start thinking differently tomorrow. They'll go back to the same job, the same mindset, the same financial struggles. And in 5 years, they'll still be watching videos like this, still looking for the magic answer, still waiting for someone to save them. But a few of you, and I mean a few, will feel something shift inside you today. You'll realize that nobody's coming to rescue you. No boss is going to suddenly pay you what you're worth. No economy is going to magically make you wealthy. No partner is going to solve your money problems. It's just you, your brain, and the decisions you make starting right now. The thing is, thinking like a CEO isn't comfortable. It's not safe. It's not what your mother taught you or what your friends will understand. You'll have to disappoint people. You'll have to bet on yourself when everyone thinks you're crazy. You'll have to believe in your value when you have no proof yet. But here's what I know. You wouldn't have watched this entire video if you were meant to stay small. Something in you is ready for more. Something in you knows that the employee game is rigged and you're tired of playing it. So what's it going to be? Are you going to close this video and go back to asking for permission to live your own life? Or are you going to decide right now that you're done thinking small, done playing safe, done letting other people determine your worth? The CEO version of you is already there, waiting. She's been waiting your whole life. The question is, are you finally ready to let her run the show? If this hit you differently than other videos, if you felt something wake up inside you while watching this, subscribe to this channel. But more importantly, take one CEO action today. Just one. Price something higher. Start that project. Send that email. Make that investment in yourself. Because the truth is, you already know what to do. You just needed someone to tell you it's time. It's time.